So just to introduce myself, I'm Stephen Edwards. So I am the head of marketing at Closomat UK. My job really today is just to get the right people together, which we've done again, and I'm ready just to sort of field some of the Q&A at the end. So on with the first question for today, for those that are on already. The first poll is, for those that have been doing this before, you'll know what the first one is. It's really just to find out a little bit more about who we've got on the webinar today. So hopefully you can see that on your screen. So what broadly best fits your job role? Whether you're an occupational therapist for local authority, for the NHS, whether you're a mixture of private and local authority, private only, whether you're a technical officer, housing association, other government role, or potential distributor, contractor, or none of the above. So again, we'll give you a few more seconds to complete that. Okay, we're nearly at what I call my 80%, which is brilliant. Okay. 1 second. Okay, I'll end it there. I think there's a lot more people logging on as we speak, but nevertheless, I think the picture is similar to we've had before. Sort of predominantly occupational therapists, which again makes sense given the content of the presentation today. But thank you for that. Okay. So now I'd like to introduce who we've got on today. Oh, sorry, before we do that, what I'd like to say is we are open for business. We've been open for business now for a number of weeks, completing surveys, both remotely, and Elliot will talk more about the remotely and how we do that later today. And we are doing that in home where we can and where needed. That obviously means that we're providing quotes and orders. We are now able to do servicing across the UK, and our servicing team are up and running. And of course, we are able to deliver from our factory. So all intents and purposes, every part of Closomat is fully open, albeit with the restrictions to things like surveys that we've got on there. Okay, so as I mentioned before, I'd like to welcome our presenters today. I'd firstly like to welcome our new presenter for Closomat, which is Elliot Sayers. Elliot's a product specialist, and he'll talk a little bit more about himself later. So great to have Elliot on board today, and great to have Kate Sheehan back. Having not presented last webinar, she's booted Adam off, and she's back presenting today, which is fantastic for us to have Kate on board again to take you through what will be the main content for today. Okay, so that's me really. I'd like to hand over to Kate to, as I said, to talk more about the main part of the content today. Kate.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you are well. I am, as I say, Kate Sheehan. I am an occupational therapist, and I'm just going to talk to you today briefly about sensory issues. Can I just ask, can everybody see? I'm hoping people can. First, I just want to go through the learning outcomes. I tweaked these once I just started doing this presentation. I've only got 35 minutes, so I'm only going to be able to give you an overview of the sensory needs. There's so much to this that actually you could have a whole day, 2 days, 3 days on this. But basically, I want to briefly go through the occupations that a client is engaged with within the bathroom, and just briefly discuss the impact of that. But I want to concentrate on the overview of sensory processing, review some equipment within that and how we can address bathroom changes to support our clients with sensory issues. And then at the end, we're going to do a Q&A session for you as well. So let's go to bathroom occupations. We all know that we do various things in the bathroom. We bath, we use a toilet, we shower, we use a hand basin, we do personal grooming. All those things are things that we do. within the bathroom. And all these tasks are quite complex. So when we break them down or do our activity analysis and break them into their component parts, and they're very complex. And then if you add on top of that people's sensory processing difficulties, it makes it even more complicated. But these aren't the only tasks that are carried out in the bathroom. We've got additional tasks like people doing makeup, parents doing toilet training, kind of development of children's skills, relationships that develop within the bathroom, play, and then for a lot of adults there's an element of leisure. So we mustn't forget those occupations as well when we're designing the bathroom. So I want to really concentrate now on the sensory system. I am not a sensory trained OT, but it's vitally important that we have some knowledge and we understand what's going on. So the sensory processing or integration is the brain's ability to organise sensory information coming from all parts of the body in order to be able to use it. We take in this sensory input from seven different senses. We organise it in our brain for functionals, and then we send out signals to the rest of our body to activate the appropriate motor, behaviour or emotional responses. And an individual's sensory processing, this happens automatically, unconsciously, and nearly instantaneously. And we don't know that it's happening. You and I would not be thinking about what is happening. But if you have an impaired sensory system, those processes don't happen automatically. So in the sensory system, there are 7 sensory systems. There is vestibular, proprioception, tactile, visual, auditory, olfactory, and gustatory. And it's important to note that these sensory systems don't generally work alone. They work together as a whole. So you will often find clients that have impairments in more than one area. As a housing therapist, I will always seek to have a proper sensory assessment done because, as I said, that's not my skill, and I need to know in detail what somebody's needs are, and I'll work with my colleague who is sensory trained to give me the information, and we can talk together about what is necessary. But I am acutely aware that this is not always possible, and the sensory systems are not, sensory assessments are not always available to us. But we can use our skills, we can identify needs, and we can use our observation and our knowledge to be able to fulfil our clients' needs within the environment. And one of the tools I sometimes use is Olga Boschkina. She has a free assessment that you can get the parents to do and fill in. You can do a quick analysis, and it does give you some idea of sensory processing difficulties. Highly recommend that you get it. As I say, the wonderful thing about this is it's free, so you don't have to be purchasing any expensive assessment tool. So what we get from that sensory outcome, or the observations that we've got, is an understanding of our client's sensory needs, whether they have hypo or hypersensitivity. And I just want to go through both of these because I think in the general public, we use the wording incorrectly. So hyposensitivity is the undersensitivity to stimulation. Those are our clients who are seeking behaviour. And then we have hypersensitivity, those who are oversensitive to stimulation or avoiding behaviour. So the hypersensitivity client will be the one who loves to be behind a sofa, under a blanket, in the cupboard under the stairs. The hypersensitive client is your client who you walk into the room or into the assessment and they are flapping, they're spinning, they're turning, they're doing all those things to get sensory input. So the key to intervention is knowing which our child is. But do we stay the same all the time? We don't actually. And this is one of the, this kind of shows you what we're aiming to achieve. We have those who are in high arousal and we have those in low arousal. And as a therapist, we want to aim to get them into that window of tolerance, because if they're calm enough or aroused enough, they can carry out activities better. And we can use modifying tasks and installing equipment and minor and major adaptations to enable our clients' maximum occupational performance. So let's get down to the bathroom environment. Apart from the kitchen, the bathroom is generally the most confusing room in a house for anybody with sensory processing difficulties. And we need to look how we can support our clients with those sensory processing difficulties to carry out those tasks that we need to do. Going to the toilet, cleaning our teeth, washing, be it showering or bathing, or want to do, children who maybe want to play, adults who might just want to relax in the bath because they may have sensory processing difficulties, but they may also have other medical conditions like rheumatoid arthritis. So they want to be in the bath to ease their joints, but they have sensory processing difficulties as well. So we need to look at everything. So when I was deciding how we went through this, and knowing that we had limited time, I thought we'd go through each individual sensory system, and then from that give you some issues that we might encounter and some potential solutions. I am not giving you everything because it'd be impossible, but it gives you some ideas. And I've broken it down to hyper and hyposensitivity. So I hope it gives you some real insight into what you can do. So let's look at auditory. And I'm giving you an update of what's happening. I don't know whether that's the right way of putting it, but I'm teaching again, probably things you already know. So the auditory is the body's ability to interpret information that is heard, and the auditory system uses the outer and middle ear to perceive noise and sound information, but that includes things like volume and pitch and rhythm. So it's not just about hearing a voice, it's so much more. And what you find in a bathroom, and I don't know whether you're aware, but the bathroom is generally a very noisy place. It has very little products in it that soak away the noise. It's very tinny, it has ceramics, it has tiling, it has solid floors, it has radiators. So it really is quite a space where noise travels and moves around. And for somebody with auditory problems who's avoiding those noises, it's actually a really scary place. And if you can imagine, it's a room where you are frightened and you don't like it, it's not going to encourage you to be able to do the activities that you need to do and want to get to do. And we often find, especially with children and actually adults, that they will avoid the space and only go to the toilet at the very last minute, which often also causes problems with continence, with urinary tract infections. So getting the bathroom a space where they feel happy and confident is really important. So just to give you some ideas, just listen to pipes. I know this is a kind of strange thing to ask you to do, but you get lots of pipe work in bathrooms and they often clang and make noises, especially in the mornings or late in the evenings when heating is coming on and off. And actually what you might only have to do is make sure those pipes are secure. That might require taking the flooring up, taking the floorboards up and just resecuring. Hopefully you could all do that within a minor adaptations grant, but that will make a significant difference to that adult or child using that space. When you're running baths for children, talk to your parents or your caregivers about how to do that. I always suggest one, try and fill the bath before the child or the adult comes into the room, because then he's not hearing the noise of that splashing on the ceramic of the bath. If you can't do that because you're the only person and you need to keep an eye on your child, put a flannel where the water is coming down onto, because it dulls down the sounds. Again, looking at toilet flushing, if you don't have to flush the toilet when the child or the adult's in the room, don't bother. It's one of those wonderful sayings that my grandma used to say, which was, if it's mellow, let it settle. If it's brown, flush it down. So it's avoid the flush, because if you can imagine, it's quite a sharp sound and it can be very frightening within a bathroom. Again, talking about emptying baths, empty the bath when the child or the adult's actually left the room, or if you have to, again, put a flannel down. It will empty slowly, but the sounds will be diminished. Look at radiators and whether they're vibrating. Secure them more if you can. Door banging. If you've got door bangings, just put the kind of door stops or on the doors to stop those noises happening. And then the biggest thing that you can do in a bathroom is use things that products that pull in the sound. So I know wood cladding is not the most popular thing at the moment, but wood cladding on the walls actually dulls down the sound. Put loads of towels out, because that will soak in the noise. Put dressing gowns on the back of doors. Anything that's going to pull down the sounds for your child who's kind of hypersensitive to noise. But on the other side, if we have somebody who's seeking noise, you can do some very simple things. Have music on in the bathroom. You know, bathroom radios are really cheap now. You can pick them up from Amazon for £10. And I know it might be controversial, but the benefits you receive as a parent or an adult for the additional expenses for your disability needs could be used for purchasing one of those. The other ones are, you can put the Bluetooth radio transmitters into the ceiling, far more expensive. But what you can do with that is use the music that your child or your adult prefers. So, and you can change it depending on whereabouts in the process you are of bathing. The other one is just bring up your Alexa, pop it outside the door. They shouldn't really be used in bathrooms, but you can have it outside the door and you can change the music as you need to throughout the activity that you're doing, be it going to the toilet, toilet training, getting in the bath, having a shower, all those activities. So let's go to olfactory. This is the body's ability to interpret smells, and we use our nose to receive the information about chemical makeup of particles in the air, and usually this is about determining whether it's safe or harmful. And sometimes that interpretation with people with sensory processing difficulties doesn't happen. So again, let's look at those children and adults who avoid. Modify the way you do the task is key, I think. Look at your soap smells. Use non-scented products. There's lots of them out there. Not that I want to push any particular brands, but you know, simple soaps are very good, non-scented, and also don't react with the skin. So if you have skin issues as well, are pretty good. Clean when the client is out the house. So, you know, say to your carers or your family members, don't use your really smelly bleach products when the child is in the house or the adult. Clean and then open the windows. And the classic one I often find is that people are using those scented blocks in toilets, or the room fresheners that spit out smells at various times during the day. take those, remove them all, because that will help. But it's also one of these things that if you have other family members who are using the toilet, and unfortunately we have to be honest here, poo smells. It's about teaching the rest of the people in the family that if you have a particularly smelly poo, you flush it very quickly, preferably a double flush, you open the windows and you leave the bathroom door closed. We don't want those smells seeping elsewhere within the house, which might cause distress to an adult or child. But if you're seeking, you're almost doing exactly the opposite. Let's look at soaps that really smell, lots of perfumes. Doesn't matter about cleaning products as long as they're safely secured away. Doesn't matter about smelly toilet smells. And my classic one that I recommend, and again, this is, I'm not sure whether you should be pushing brands, but you only need to walk past Lush to realise the actual overwhelming, I was going to use the word stench, but I'm not sure that's the word you should use really, the overwhelming cacophony of smells that you get. And actually that can really help if you're trying to get a child into the bath. Use one of their bath bombs as smells kind of wander around the bathroom and really provide an excellent environment for those that are seeking smells. So the opposite, smellier the better. So let's go to visual. This is the body's ability to understand and interpret what's seen, and the visual system uses our eyes to receive information, and this is about contrast of light and dark and movement, and it detects visual input from the environment through light waves which stimulate the retina. So again, moving on to those people who avoid, we can do some minor changes, but we can also do slightly bigger changes. So I will always look at, let's put a dimmer switch with the central lighting in the bathroom.
Okay, sorry to interrupt there. Quite a few people are still stuck on one of the previous slides. Yeah, I think I can, yeah, quite a few different participants are. I think it is working for some people. So I think if you're experiencing the issue, if you can log off and log back in, that should hopefully refresh the slides for you and get you back to where we are. We're on
I'm really sorry. So where did people get stuck?
Auditory was the last slide that people have seen so far.
Right. Oh gosh, that's quite a way back, isn't it?
We've just been trying to establish if it is everyone. I think there are some people have the right slide. I think the audio has been fine there, Kate. I think it is just the visual.
Okay.
Yeah, they're coming back. They're working again now. Yeah.
They're working again. Brilliant. I'm really sorry if people have missed it. Hopefully you could hear what I was saying and you haven't missed anything. But let's go, let's start again with visual. I apologise for those people who've just heard it. But this is the body's ability to understand and interpret what is seen. And the visual system uses the eye to receive information about contrast of light and dark. And it detects visual input from the environment through light waves and the stimulation of our retina. So those people who avoid find the bathroom quite a stark place because there's lots of reflection, and there's a lot of movement within, say, water in the bath. There is light coming in from the windows. It's really quite distracting. So I always try and go, well, how can we reduce as much as possible the kind of information that somebody's receiving? So as I was saying, central light with a dimmer. You can put the dimmer on the outside of the bathroom so you avoid building regulations or going against building regulations. Dimmer on the outside, dim it down when that person's going in, especially if they're having a bath. Because if you dim down the light, you don't get quite such a reflection on the water as it moves. I often use task lighting, again with dimmers, because it makes it easier for people who are avoiding to carry out tasks. Try and use non-reflective tiles, so matte tiles. And again, I'm back to that wood. I know it's not vogue at the moment, but wood, which you can paint in certain colours, will really reduce down the light reflections. Have the non-reflective floorings, and the other one is trying to get a flooring that doesn't have bits in it as well, because what people who are avoiding will see the bits and it's quite distressing because they'll wonder what's on the floor. I have on a couple of occasions with people's ceramics used stickers, any types of stickers, preferably the stickers that you can pull on and off quite easily, which are plastic based, because at least you can pull them off to clean, but that will dull down the reflection that you get from ceramics as well. Avoid all those bright toys and use very pale towels. So we're talking towels that are grey or brown. I don't want to see these jazzy beach towels with Disney characters on them. Keep them very pale. That will help that adult or child who avoids to be able to carry on those activities in the bathroom. If you're seeking, this is where you can go wild in the bathroom. We want bright lights. You can put disco lights up. You can put flashing lights up. I've used the lights on the toilets for a child who we were trying to toilet train, and he used to sit there with his legs quite wide apart, looking at the lights going round. His dad also added internal lights to the toilet, which were battery run, probably not overly safe, but they flashed round as he emptied his bowels, and it worked for him. You can get these lovely lights that you can just pop in the bath. They're about £9.99 from Amazon, and they just float, so they're great for somebody who's seeking that bright lights. We're looking at bright coloured towels, lots of brightly coloured plastic toys, toilet seats that light up, and anything that's going to jazz up your bathroom. This is where you can put murals on the wall. You can put the kind of fairy lights, which are you can get them battery operated around the window. Lots of things you can do to really make that environment a really sensory place, and a place where a child wants to be or an adult wants to be, so you can then say, well, actually we're going to go into bathing now as well. So, gustatory. This is the body's ability to interpret information regarding taste in the mouth. It uses the tongue to receive taste sensations. And again, it's about the chemical makeup and the tongue determining whether something is safe or harmful. So those seeking, these are the children who like to eat their feces. They love to eat washing products, or they'll pick out the grout in between the tiles, you know, the pickers. They might, even if you've got just walls without tiling on and it's plasterboard, they will be the pickers who will pick the plasterboard. So for me in this situation, storage is key. Let's keep all those products that are potentially eatable, lockable and out of the way. And you don't need to have ugly lockable cupboards. You can find them on most major websites like Amazon or Wayfair, and it's just about where you secure the key to stop that adult or child using it. Use automatically flushing toilets. So on standing, the toilet will flush. That means that they don't have the opportunity to actually put their hands down into the toilet to find their faeces before it's gone. I often use Shore Stops, which are a product which turns water off. And I'll often use this at night on the bath or the sink or the toilet, because they will be the child who goes in and who will be turning taps on and wanting to taste things. But if they turn the tap on and no water comes out, then they're not fulfilling their needs, and hopefully we can encourage them to stay or move back into their bed. I think the other thing is, if you're using a wash-dry toilet, the Closomat cleans incredibly effectively if you've got other issues, and leaves no feces on the body to ingest. So, you know, the Closomat's flow is so good and strong in comparisons to others on the market. So then we've got the child who is avoiding anything that goes in the mouth. And these are the child who really hate having their teeth cleaned. And you will struggle to get them to clean their teeth. I often reckon oral nurse, which has no flavour, it gives no kind of sensory feeling. It has a slight gummy feeling, but it's really good if you want to encourage good oral hygiene. So tactile. This is the body's ability to interpret information coming into the body from the skin. It uses receptors in the skin to receive sensations like pressure and vibrations and movement and temperature and pain. And it's the first one to develop in the womb in babies. And that's why you often see mums to be stroking their tummy, and that's giving sensory input back to their child or their baby in their body. So if you're seeking, these are the clients who will be seeking as much input as possible in the bathroom, and they will be turning taps on, they will be flushing the toilet, they'll be splashing in the bath, they'll be opening and shutting doors, they'll be flapping in the middle of the room, and it's trying to give them the things that they need without causing danger within the bathroom. So to give you examples, I will use shore stops at night to stop them seeking the behaviour during the night by flushing toilets, because not only is that a not appropriate behaviour, the one that we want to manage, but it's also going to impact on other people in the house. And we all know the impacts of lack of sleep has on an individual. I will use door stops in the bathroom to stop that banging, banging, banging. You have to be a little canny because people will learn what you've done, and I'll often put more than one door stop in just to try and avoid one being moved. I tend to avoid those ones that are on a kind of a coil. You'll be amazed at how many children or adults can actually physically pull that out, and then it stops and you have this long dangly coil that's fit for nothing. Use the more substantial ones if you can get hold of them. I have, on one occasion, put in a larger bath for a child who was so seeking, but we needed to get this child into the bath as much as possible because they had they had other impairments. They had incredibly bad eczema, which was cracking, and we needed to get him as much in that bath with the allurement as we could. But he would stand, he wouldn't lie in it. So we were trying to get as much coverage as possible. So we made the bath bigger, so we encouraged him to kind of swim. So he had I can't remember the name of the bath. If anybody needs it, let me know, email me, and I'll find it. But it was a bigger bath. It came in about 1,000 by 1,900, which meant we really got that swimming effect. Lots of bubbles, even spas. You can get spa mats, again, on most major internet sites, which you just pop in the bottom of the bath, which will give you those bubbles. So along with kind of your colours and things, you can make it really quite an exciting space. And if using a wash-dry toilet, often with these children, I will up the pressure as much as possible, because they will then get that seeking feeling. They're getting the information they need, which might give them time to stay on the toilet a bit longer to allow for a better clean. So tactile when people are avoiding, this is really difficult within the bathroom, and it's very much about managing the situation. I would try and use fluffy warm towels to stimulate the same temperature as your body. So when you are drying a child, it doesn't feel that it's kind of pins and needles, or it feels like a stabbing. Consider putting cushions in the bath to make it really soft as much as possible. And you can get cushions made quite easily now by various companies. With teeth cleaning, again, it's often very difficult, and we'll often say to families, if you can start with those rubber-topped toothbrushes that you often use for babies, it's less invasive than the toothbrush. Consider the wash and dry toilet, but with a low pressure now. And then finally, you know, if you're getting in and out of the bath, because you don't want to physically lift a child, because you actually have to hold them quite tight, it's about maybe using a bath stool and then a bath board to get a child into the bath. So vestibular. This is the body's ability to interpret information relating to movement and balance. And our vestibular system uses kind of semicircular canals in the inner ear to receive the information about movement. And it's about the movement in the head position and the pull of direction. And it receives information how slow or fast we're moving from the neck and the eyes. So it uses the body position and the orientation in place, but most importantly, balance. And I've put that image on the side because the Massachusetts Eye and Ear Clinic one really, to me, describes what we need to understand about vestibular sensory issues. So if you're avoiding, a client needs to feel safe and secure and have stability to carry out tasks. This is your classic, to give you an example of older people, this is where you get what I call the furniture walkers. So they're constantly trying to find something to walk with. One, because their mobility is not good, but also because their balance is not good. So they need to look at increasing input from other senses like touch to be able to feel balanced. So with these children who find it very difficult, I will often look at putting in hand basins with grab rails. I will put grab rails by the toilet so they can hold on to them to feel stable in that position. I'll put grab rails in the bath to give them stability when they're getting in and out. I'll use seats again, so we're avoiding them having to stand on one leg. I will avoid using long mirrors in bathrooms because it confuses people, because what they're using then is their vestibular system is trying to work out where they are in space, and then they have this visual cue and it's confusing them, and they see two people, and you'll get these people who can't work out where their balance is. It's also really critical when you're using toilets to have a client's feet on the floor. This often isn't a problem with our older clients, but if you think of children, the number of children who sit in a bloot with their feet dangling because the toilet's way too high, this is where we just need to put in a footstool just to put their feet stable. And try and look at non-slip flooring if you possibly can. And again, that's quite a simple solution under minor works grant. If they're seeking, these are the clients who are going to be running around, jumping, climbing up radiators, climbing over the bath, trying to shimmy up the shower riser bar. They're going to be trying to get out of the bathroom. So this is where you need to make the environment as safe as possible. So if they do these activities because mum, dad or a carer is not there to avoid it, they're not going to give themselves or cause any damage or an injury. So these are the ones where we might put a radiator cover on with a slightly sloping top so they're harder to climb onto. We'll put window restrictors on so they can't access the window or try and get out the window. We will use heavy duty toilet seats that are harder to pull off if they're climbing on them, or to twist when they're stepping on them. Sloping windowsills, a bit like the radiators. Window coverings to avoid them smashing it. Those are the kinds of things that we'll be looking at. I think with this one as well, I'm just going to go back because it's again looking at the toilet, sink, bath, and actually, are you putting in products that are going to be safe if they are climbing on them or trying to rip them off the wall? And I have used in the past non-vandal or vandal-resistant products, which sound horrific because most people think of those stainless steel products. And I would say to you, they are ugly, but they work. But there's a company called Dudley, which is based in Dudley in the West Midlands, that does very, if you can say, aesthetically looking white vandal-proof products, and they work a treat. I'm conscious I'm just coming over time, so just talk about proprioception. This is the body's ability to interpret where our bodies are in space, and it uses the information from the nerves and the sheaths on the muscles and bones to inform us about where our body is in space. And when we're looking at children who are seeking, the client is likely to try and get their sensory input from crashing around bathroom products. And again, this is where you can use the vandal-proof products, because they'll be crashing around to try and work out where their body is in space. But I want to just talk about the people who are avoiding. These are the clients who don't want to go into the bathroom because everything involves some sensory input. So if you imagine, if you're going to the toilet, you're having to take your trousers down, so you're in an unusual position. If you are getting into the bath, you're on one leg. And if you can imagine you're not quite sure where your body is in space, that will often cause some issues. So again, we might be just using a bath seat to make it slightly easier for them to get in. And finally, a bathroom is not just a functional space, is it? We carry out a lot of different activities in that space. Therefore, that holistic assessment of all the tasks is necessary to meet the client's needs. And often with sensory children and adults, you need to reassess and reevaluate what's working. It's not an exact science. And often with these children and adults will try things, try it for a while, will it work, won't it work, try something else. And work with our colleagues to understand the needs of the clients and to design for their individual needs. There is no one kind of design fits all. It's not like you're doing a kind of a void property for a wheelchair user and you can look at a 1500 turning circle. This is so specific because the children and the adults' needs are so personal to them. So I'm now going to hand you over to Elliot, and I will start answering questions if there are any.
Thank you for that, Kate, and I'm hoping the transition there was seamless, but we shall see. Yeah, big thank you to Kate there, because that's a whole lot of information she's had to compress into a short time window there. So, and such a thorough explanation as well that I think even for those of us who lost the visuals for, I think it was 1 or 2 slides, I think she definitely plenty made up for that in the audio description. So, yeah, but we will be sending out the slides to whoever needs them. So what you'll see coming up here, folks, you will see a poll. So we're just going to run through a few questions. So the very first one, before we get started with the Closomat side of the presentation, DFG-led assessment. So if relevant to your role, are you conducting assessments? And you have multiple choice there. Yes, more often. Yes, about the same as usual. Yes, still less than usual. Yes, less but getting much busier. Yes, less but getting busier, and no, still not able to do assessments. So we're just going to give a bit of time for everyone to get their answers in for us.
Yeah, we'll give it a few more seconds, Elliot.
Yeah, no problem, of course. And we're still in the chat windows and the Q&A to answer any other questions that you may have as well, folks. So keep the questions coming in.
Okay, we'll sort of leave it there. I think we nearly had 70%. I'll share that with you.
Okay, so so actually quite a few of you still not able to do assessments. So definitely within the next section of the presentation, the Closomat specific section, we're going to talk through how we may be able to assist you for the jobs that you have where you're not able to do an assessment. Whether it be that we're able to go out on your behalf or whether it be virtual. So we'll come to that a bit later. I think there are a couple of others as well. Yeah. So DFG grants being processed. So if relevant to your role, do you think you will still be able to spend the allocated DFG fund for this year? So the options here, yes, confident based on likely demand. Yes, probably most. Yes, but not all. Not sure at present, or no. And again, we're going to give you some time to answer those questions as well. Still a few answers coming in for that, I think, there, Stephen.
Yeah, we're still 50-odd%. I'll just wait a few more seconds.
No problem.
Trickling in.
Yeah, a few more coming in.
I think that'll do. We're not
Yep.
quite at 70, but given the timing, I will just share these with you. There you go.
Okay, so near, well, 43% not sure at present. So yeah, we have a yes, probably most. Only 18% yes, confident based on likely demand. And only a very small percentage saying no, which is a good thing, definitely.
Okay, it's over to you, Elliot.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Stephen. So, yeah, thank you again, Kate, for the introduction there. My name's Elliot Sayers, and I'm a product specialist for Closomat. First of all, I am doing this at home, and I will have to apologise if you hear my my German Shepherd in the background, because yeah, if he's going to bark in the house, we are all going to hear it. So, apologies in advance if that does happen, but hopefully not. So, just. Okay, so what do we do? So we're well known for our flagship Casa Vita toilet, toilets, as we are very much the cornerstone of the wash-dry toilet market, and we've been making wash-dry toilets for a considerable number of years, decades. But we actually do a lot more than just the wash-dry toilet, and this isn't common knowledge. So just a quick overview of actually what we can provide. So in terms of equipment within a changing places bathroom, we can fit a majority, if not all, of the equipment that's required to go into a changing places bathroom. So as you can see there, whether that be changing benches, steam track hoist, shower seats, even height adjustable track shower seats, wash hand basins, again, various different wash hand basins. Drop down rails we can provide, that can also be provided attached specifically to the Casa Vita toilet. The Après range of body dryers as well. So there are a multitude of products that we can provide. It's not just the wash dry toilet. So the Casa Vita toilet, which is if you come into contact with the wash dry toilet in the past sort of 15 years, and it is a Closomat, it's going to have been likely to be the Casa Vita unit. So it's the UK's #1 wash dry toilet, and on the market it does have the most effective wash dry performance. What we mean by this is that the performance of a wash dry toilet is measured by flow rate, it's litres of water per minute, and the Casa Vita does have the highest at 8 litres of water per minute. It is a 15-second wash cycle, but it is the most effective wash dry performance. It's important to note at that point as well that although we can make it that powerful, we can also reduce the power as well, as per the need of the service user. And bringing on to the next point, versatile and adaptable. So in its water pressure, in its dry, and in its accessories that we can provide, the Casa Vita unit is very versatile and adaptable. Anything that we add to the unit on the original specification as well, it can be retrospectively added as well and retrospectively removed. So any changes we make, we can change this back, or we can add things in the future. And the importance there is that many service users that we will go out to see have progressive conditions and progressive needs and changing needs. And so we want to be able to provide a product that can adapt as people go through those different stages in their life. Easy to use and hands-free. What we mean by this is that on a standard Casa Vita unit, as you can see in the picture there, it's operated by using one of the 2 elbow pads that are situated on the system. They always remain on the unit, but also we have a range of different operating mechanisms as well. So whether that be a touch-sensitive switch, a remote control, a proximity switch, there are a range of different ways to use a Closomat toilet. It's not just the elbow pads on the back as standard. the safe working load for the Palma Vita. So as you can see there, the safe working load on the standard Palma Vita model is 30 stone, which is a considerable weight limit, and that is just at the standard seat. In addition to this, we can also change that to the bariatric Big John seat, and that increases the weight limit of the unit to 57 stone. So it's quite a considerable difference. So again, where there are those different needs and requirements, we can make those adaptations to the unit. Palma Life. So we do have a, it's still the Palma Vita, a Palma Vita unit that's available called the Palma Life. The Palma Life comes with 10 years service and warranty. Now the 10-year service and warranty is just that, it's service and warranty, because the two are different. I will come into that further on in the presentation. But what that means is that when the toilet goes in, if it is a Palma Life unit, it's covered for a 10-year period. So we'll come out and we will service the unit. If there are any faults with the unit, we'll repair them. If any parts are required, we will supply them as well. And that's the cost to the service user or to the local authority or housing association, whoever it may be, because it's covered under that 10-year window for the Palma Life. And as I mentioned earlier, we have the bathroom covered. So it's not just the toilet itself, the wash dryer toilet itself. There's a range of ceiling track hoists, the changing bench, the height adjustable basin, the shower seats. We can even provide wheel commode chairs as well. So there is quite a range of other products that we can supply. And on these products, because the Palma Vita itself is manufactured by us, supplied by us, fitted by us, with the products that we can add, such as the ceiling track hoist, the changing bench, we only go to very trusted suppliers for those, and we make sure anything that we've made, we've not produced, is of high quality and of the standard that we provide with our own Palma Vita unit. So compliance. So you can see our different ISO certifications there. Also, any product that we supply, so any product that we make and produce, i.e. the Palma Vita unit and all of its components, are RAS approved. For those that don't know, RAS approval is a water regulatory advisory scheme, and it deals with the relationship between the cold water feed coming into the house and anything being attached to that. We can provide you with more information, so just let us know if you do need that. Okay, so how does a product specialist support you? So as I say, I'm a product specialist myself, and I have a team of product specialists that work with me. Sorry, apologies, we do have one more poll question, the virtual assessments. So we'll quickly cover this because it does relate to the next few slides. So thank you, Stephen, for prompting there. So has anyone been using or is considering using virtual, whether that be video or phone assessments, given the current restrictions in place? So the options there: yes, already doing them; yes, but not yet done one; no, but would be interested in how to do them; no, there is currently no demand for this; or no, still doing on-site assessments. So yeah, we'll just give you some time to answer those questions. It'd be interesting to see the results, as I said, because it relates to what we're about to cover. So we'll just give you some time to answer those.
We're at 64% actually. I'll give them a couple more seconds if we get to 70, and then I'll
no problem.
Pass it across to you. You'll go on. Okay, that'll do.
Brilliant.
I'll share that with you, Elliot.
Okay, brilliant. So it's actually great to see that almost half of you, so 42%, already doing the video and phone assessments. So that's a considerable amount considering how many we still have on the webinar. Yes, but not yet done one. No, but we'd be interested. So we'll cover the process now. But also we are, as Stephen said earlier, we are open for business as usual. So if you are interested, get in touch with us. We'll push you towards the end of the webinar. Get in touch with whether it's with your local product or whether it's with the head office, and they'll be in touch with the correct product specialist. to support you. So we would take responsibility for our process. So that's the client assessment, whether that be remote or on site, product specification, installation survey, and then there's the which is something we've recently introduced in the current climate, of course, and the circumstance we all find ourselves in, where it's not as simple as it has been, sorry, to simply pick up the phone to us, book an on-site assessment, we meet you, whether you're an occupational therapist, whether you're a grant officer. It's not as easy for us to just meet you on site and conduct a site survey. So we're going to talk through how we're working on that. So survey options from the remote to the complex. Now, what we mean by that is we are still able to conduct site surveys, but very much at the moment we want to reduce the risk to the service user, to yourselves, and also to us as well, in the spread of COVID. So what we are doing is we are conducting site surveys where a remote survey is perhaps not possible, and the site visit is unavoidable. And we are fully risk assessed, and we do document each on-site survey as well. The risk assessments can be found on our website, and we can send them out to you as well, so that information is available. And we do wear full PPE on the visits as is required in accordance with government compliance, of course. And we do maintain the 2 metre social distancing at all times. So we are still able to do the site surveys, but where those aren't necessarily required, remote in place. Now, this is something we've actually always been able to do, but it's never often been a requirement. Of course, it is now sought after, as we saw 42% already have taken up this option. And so the way that it works with our new process, so the stage 1, sorry, is an initial discussion between ourselves and whether it's a private end user or it's yourselves, being whoever you are, whether you're an occupational therapist, grants officer, whoever it may be. It's an initial discussion where we'll try and capture as much information as possible regarding the service user and their, of course, unique requirements and why they may need a wash-dry toilet. And then we move on to stage 2. And once we've captured their contact information, we reach out to them directly for a pre-assessment phone call. And there's also an online questionnaire as well. On this pre-assessment phone call, we're just really going to quickly run through the process with them. We're going to send the questionnaire out to them and ask them, if possible, whether it's themselves, whether it's perhaps if the occupational therapist is going out, but we're perhaps not being asked to, if the occupational therapist can help, or whoever it may be visiting the property, whether it's a family member or someone who is permitted to go into that person's property, whether they can assist, a carer, whoever it may be. We're going to get them to fill out the questionnaire with the service user. It will relate specifically to them, but also to the property that we would have been going out to. And then, armed with that information, what we then do is we ask a convenient time to book an assessment call, which is stage 3. And then, armed with that information, we have the assessment calls. So we know more about the property and the requirements. We know more about the service user and what they may need. And this helps us build an idea of the product specification. So what we may need to add to that unit or change to it to make it suitable for them. And then that takes us through, once we have that, to stage 4, which is the quotation. We'll compile, as product specialists, all that information. We'll send the specification over to our head office team. Again, we are open for business. They are there. They are there to help, and they are there to also process the quotation and then send it out to you based on that specification. And this specifically is where the no quibble guarantee comes into it. And this is why I've perhaps left it till now to cover this, because whilst we're not out on site, the assessment stage of things, we're not there to see perhaps what may be required in the minutiae of the requirements of the bathroom. So whether it's we need to bring the unit out slightly or change some boxing or whatever it may be. So the no quibble guarantee covers if perhaps we need to add some boxing or we need to add something that perhaps wasn't picked up on the assessment, whether that's to do with the product or the installation. And it also covers you if perhaps the product specification isn't quite isn't quite suitable for the service user, and we need to make an amendment to that, that is also covered under the no quibble guarantee. So it's a good process in replacement of site surveys. It doesn't mean we're going to get it right absolutely every time, but that's where the no quibble guarantee comes in to compensate for that. Okay. So the 10-day commissioning guarantee. Now, with regard to commissioning, we're going to start with some myth busting, because there are some misunderstandings as to what commissioning, when we refer to it as Closomat, actually means. And on one of our previous webinars, we conducted a poll, and there was, I think, to recall, 60% of people thought that if a unit wasn't commissioned, it couldn't be used. Now, that's actually one of the myths. The service user can use the Casa Vita unit as soon as it is installed. Now, the importance of that is the commissioning is an extra service that we offer. It's in addition to anything anyone else in the marketplace is offering. What we're doing is we're saying we'll go back out to the unit to check the installation, make sure it's been installed as we would expect it to be. Also to make sure that the pressure, the dryer, everything in terms of the product specification is working as the service user expected, and we can make any adjustments on that commissioning visit as well. So on average, the commissioning visit, so from the installation to the commissioning visit, is under 10 days, and that is based on an average. And our reasons for doing the commissioning, as I've sort of touched on there, is the level of support for the service user. It's also reassuring for yourself, that the investment through the DFG is being looked after correctly, as it should be. And we don't want to just install a unit, leave, and then forget about it. We want to go out and make sure it is as we all expect it to be. And we do this on every installation, every time. So that's every unit that goes out, even if it's not Closomat that installs the unit. And so what we would say is, when perhaps it's not Closomat installing the unit, whether it's a contractor, whether it's yourselves as a local authority perhaps that's installing the unit, or a housing association, get your installers to follow our e-warranty process. And if you don't know about that, just ask the team, and they'll let you know what that is. And we can always send you out some information. And again, it's the commitment to deliver the commission within 10 working days. Okay, so we take responsibility for the welfare for you and your clients, warranty versus service. So we'll come into, as I mentioned earlier, there's a difference between the two, and we do like to specify this because we offer them both. So a good analogy here, think of the decision you make when servicing your car. So often a car, when you purchase it, will come with a manufacturer or whoever you bought it from. If you bought it from a showroom, they will provide the vehicle with a warranty, but you'll still get an annual service as well. They do provide very different benefits. Now, our service contract is the extended warranty and service. As I said, it's both the offering. So it's the maintenance of the unit all rolled into one. And what we mean by that is, the warranty will cover the parts of the unit. The service covers the labour. So so for example, if there's something that needs to be fixed or repaired on the unit, then we'll come out and we'll supply the part, and then we'll fit it ourselves as well. We'll also come out and service the unit as well. Every year we'll go out to, providing the unit's under service contract, we go out to the unit and we do service it, make sure it's running correctly. And again, at that stage, we can make any adjustments to the unit as well. So it protects yours and your client's investment. No repair or call-out charges, protects the grant funding, protects the end user, so there's nothing to pay on their behalf going forward, and takes any responsibility away from you and your contractors for repairs. So effectively, you're leaving everything to us. It's fitted, and then the responsibility then lies on us. And despite popular belief, it is covered under the same DFG as the toilet. Now, previously, it was often believed that it wasn't, because it didn't specify that it was within the DFG wording. But actually now it does specify within the wording of the DFG that where you can give a provision of servicing, it's recommended that you do so. So the DFG will actually cover not just the unit, but the servicing. And what's very important to note at this point is, I referenced the Palmer Life earlier, which is the Casa Vita unit with the 10-year service and warranty, so the maintenance contract. Now, that for many local authorities, they've taken on the Palmolife, and when they put in a wash-dry toilet, they put in a Palmolife under a DFG, so it covers the unit, it covers it for 10 years. So there's the element there of the unit being fitted, and then the responsibility then lies on us to cover the unit for that 10-year period. And then they'll see a longer life from that unit, with it being looked after for 10 years. The parts regularly replaced where they may need to be. That unit's then go on to live much longer than the 10 years. So service and maintenance. So I've already covered this, so we'll just briefly go through this again, because it is very important to us. We do have a team of employed, and specify that, not subcontracted, but employed service engineers that work for Closomat. We have our after sales service and maintenance and repairs. So again, the commissioning the service. We come out to the unit to service it every year, as I've mentioned. Unlimited call outs. Now, often what we'll find is that some of the call outs that we receive can be just simply when the unit's been cleaned or maintained, it's been shut off at the power, and sometimes it's even just shutting that back on, or even just a change in temperature, a change in pressure of the unit as per the service user's requirements. That's covered under the call outs. The contracts that are available, 1 year, so it can simply just be a year's service added right through to the Palmolife. And management information, that just refers to, if you were to call us, we can give you all the information on every unit that we have on record, what repairs have been made, what services have been undertaken. So we have all that information available as well. So it's a comprehensive service. And so here, just to make you aware, we do have a library of resources available on our website. So whether that's the how-to video, which is the how does the Casa Vita work, or an air toilet seat lifter, how does that work? We've got videos of that on the website, specifications for the unit, and also the library of white papers, as I've mentioned. So various different bits of information. I'm looking at the clock, and I think I've run over quite a bit here. So I can see you popping up in the corner there. So I will hand this to you. a little bit late, but there we go.
Thank you, Elliot. That was great, and a really informative piece, I think, from both you and Kate. And I'll summarise that in a bit. So really, in terms of contacting us, which is the next slide. I think first off, it's just worthwhile explaining from an email perspective. You can email the product specialist directly if you've got that email address. If you haven't, don't worry, just email us at info@closomat.co.uk. It's constantly manned, and we can pass that on to whoever needs to in terms of the relevance to your region that you're in. We've got live chat that's available 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. It's a great resource. If you've got any questions, queries, product or otherwise, jump on there. We've got a team that's constantly available, again, to answer your queries. And of course, our website, which Elliot's already mentioned. So Elliot, if you could just go back a slide. Yeah, thank you. So just to summarize the learning outcomes from today, Kate covered the first 3 on there, everything from the occupations that a client engaged with in the bathroom environment. A really enlightening session. Certainly I heard it for the first time yesterday, and there was a lot of stuff I'd never knew, quite frankly. So a really, really good 35 minutes from Kate, so thanks again. And a really good review, as I said, from Elliot. Again, I'm conscious of time. So now if we jump into the Q&A session, I think we've been actually answered a huge amount of questions as we've gone along, but we have got the experts still there. And for those that you've left, which is a good number actually, so thanks to everyone for staying on slightly over time. I know we had got a question on email, which I think Kate can answer. So over to you, Kate.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I've been busy answering. Before I go to this question, just want something that's come up quite a lot, which is people asking about the free assessment, and I just need to give you the name, and I'm going to spell it out so everybody's got it. The person concerned is Olga, and it's Bogdashina, which is Bogdashina. If you didn't get it, send a message to one of the team at Closomat, or maybe we'll put it in the email that we send out to everybody.
Yeah,
with. That would be really useful. So going back to the question, there was a question from an OT from a learning disabilities team in Wales, and she said, I'm working with an adult who has poor bowel control and due to have Closomat installed, but can also occasionally open his bowels in the bath and has soiled himself before going into the bath. Can you suggest whether a bath with a shower attachment would meet his needs alongside the Closomat? It gives a little bit more detail. I think as an OT, because I would go back to the beginning with this particular one, in get the shower toilet in, get the Closomat in. Because the person has learning difficulties, I would teach them how to use the Closomat, but also I would teach them to use the Closomat before they went and use the bath, because what you might find is that if he goes for a wee sat down, if you encourage that, and then you have a wash, you might get a little bit of bowel stimulation around the anus, which might encourage emptying of the bowels over the toilet rather than actually going into the bath and then opening the bowels. I think, again, if somebody's getting into the bath and opening the bowels, there's very little you can do apart from encouraging, again, the technique that if their bowels open, they get out of the bath, they wash it down, and then they get back into the bath. And at that point, I would be saying that a shower and a bath might be clinically reasonable under the DFG, because the legislation does says access to bath, shower, or both. So I think start with kind of training on his new toilets and then go from there. I hope that answers your question, Ruth.
So I think we've covered quite a lot of the questions. They're pretty much coming in, and we're we're answering them straight away. Just want to apologise for the audio on my side. I'm not sure if it's to do with the protective cover I have for site visits on my on my device. So apologies if my audio has been a bit tricky for some of you to perceive, but we're more than happy to answer any questions you may have on anything that I was covering that you weren't able to hear. So please do just let us know.
Elliot, there's one other question that's come up a couple of times that I've answered, which was when I mentioned electrics.
Yeah.
So there's building regulations on where electrics can go within a bathroom. And as you will know, most of us have pull cords or a socket outside. If you're wanting to put a dimmer socket into a bathroom, you have to put it external to the bathroom. It cannot be internal to the bathroom.
Most definitely. As with our unit, it has a closed fuse spur, so it's not accessible. So yeah, same principle.
Elliot, I think unless there's any more on there, I think we'll if we can draw a close, unless there's any that you want to pick up on.
Everything's been answered. Yeah. So I'm desperately searching for one to answer.
Fine, don't worry. That's brilliant. Thanks, Elliot. If you push it just to the final slide. So I'd like to say a big thanks to Elliot and to Kate today for the presentations, which I've already mentioned, but also to Adam from the OT service, Kimberly, Jeff, and Larry from Closomat for answering the chat and also the Q&A. The replay and slides will be sent to yourself at the beginning of next week, along with the CPD certificate. And all I'd say is watch your space for more in the series. We've got another couple before the summer's out. Do keep safe and well, and we hope to see you all soon. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.